Joining me on this India First special broadcast is Captain D.K. Sharma, former spokesperson of the Indian Navy, and Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor, former Director General of Flight Safety and Inspections. And as a sailor, Captain Sharma, let me come to you first. You've been a part of a series of these exercises on the western seaboard. Both Indian and Pakistani navies are carrying out exercises barely 85 nautical miles from each other. This part of Arabian Sea, is this now becoming very dangerous territory? What do you make of the exercises that both India and Pakistan are carrying out right now?
Well, Gaurav, good evening to you and your viewers. First of all, as you have brought out, this is posturing. Yes, the message is very clear. And let me tell you, a little bit of exercise, or we are exercising a little bit of caution, because you know it, we have a very huge coastline and there will be a lot of fishermen which will be outside maybe from the last 5, 7, 10 days, and they probably will not know. And that is what you have rightly brought out, that the Indian Navy has issued nav area warnings and the Coast Guard has been put out so that there should not be any collateral damage. But the intent is very clear, and Gaurav, this time, whether it is the Navy, Army, or the Air Force, it will be a very, very synchronized kind of an action. And let me be very curt and clear. What they have done is not acceptable, and they should now be ready. And that is why they are all spread out all over, but they will be picked up and they will be addressed nice and proper. Just wait and watch. Should the, as such, the highest leadership has already given us the green signal. They have given the permissions that whatever is required, please go ahead. And this kind of posturing right now, if you are monitoring all the press releases and various other things coming out, since Sunday, the Navy has been out all over in the North Arabian Sea. They have carried out missile firings, and the latest of our destroyer, Surat, which is not yet commissioned, is also out. And they have carried out a synchronized kind of a firing where the target is being acquired by somebody else, designated by somebody else, and is being addressed and shot down by Surat. So you can see this is comprehensive kind of, engagements which are happening. And the strongest point of India right now, whether it is Army, Navy, or Force, is the battlefield transparency, which we have enough and adequate assets. We know it, who is friend, who is foe, and that is why probably the nav area warning, so that all the neutral and the white shipping moves out of this area before we go in for a
very crucial. You should mention the white shipping, all those super tankers that may be coming in, all the other merchant vessels that are coming in, because that is where India is playing a big role, expects to play a bigger role in times to come. And perhaps a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror would not want India to be the net service provider across this region. But for the benefit of our viewers, and a lot of our viewers, especially viewers of India First, they know the significance. What's a nav area warning? What's a NOTAM? But Air Marshal Kapoor would request you to explain this to our viewers. Nav area notices, NOTAMs being issued, these notices to airmen. Are we likely to see more missiles being fired, more missiles being tested? Pakistan's issued similar warnings. How would you read the signals? The next 48 hours, we are told, will be very crucial in terms of these exercises by both sides.
See, Gaurav, for benefit of your viewers, the NOTAMs are issued by the Air Defense Identification Zones. They are called ADIZs. So in India, we have 5 of these, 4 geographically and 1 Guwahati, North Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata. Every aircraft which transits through the Indian airspace, the clearances to overfly the Indian airspace is given by these Air Defense Identification Zones. And each aeroplane which flies through Indian airspace is given a code which they have to select in the aeroplane. And this code is being picked up by our radars, so that it identifies by the number which has been provided to them and what they are showing. So the radar screens tells us that this is a friendly aircraft. Now, if any aircraft which is not friendly, means who does not have these numbers and the codes and have not taken the clearances, it indicates on the radar on a different color. So that's why the first thing which happens when the conflict begins is stoppage of the airspace overflight clearances. Like India yesterday stopped the Pakistani aircrafts flying. So every aircraft which originates from that country, which has to go over the other country, and when you want to do any exercise or when you want to conduct any operation, you stop the by a NOTAM. It's an issued in advance by that ADI indicating that this coordinates is not available. So this is an indication that if any civilian aircraft is coming to that area, should not inadvertently get damaged. And
So
also,
let me quickly pose a counter question. So we issue a code, for example, to a commercial aircraft that's coming in. What if that aircraft passes on that information to a Pakistani hostile aircraft? That aircraft uses that code and tries to come in. Would it then on our radars reflect as a friendly?
every aircraft has its own depiction.
Type.
It indicates the size and the speed. So a commercial aeroplane will look different. A fighter aircraft will look different. So the speed, the size, the cross section areas, everything is different. So the radar identifies the aeroplanes.
Fair enough. Captain Sharma, how strong is the Indian Navy vis-a-vis the Pakistani Navy in terms of, let's say, cutting-edge technology, air assets, surface ships, submarine? Take air assets, for example. I mean, we have that flying frigate, the P-8Is. We have the MiG-29Ks. We have the Sea Guardian drones. So manned, unmanned, those operations. When you look at our strength and when you look at the adversary's strength, what do you make of it?
Firstly, Gaurav, I will first, add to what Air Marshal was saying. All types of deceptions will be undertaken by anybody and everybody. And that is why I was telling you that we have the kind of battlefield visibility, the maritime domain awareness, that we are very proud of it. And you must have also heard the naval chief during his various addresses that each and every vessel, aircraft contact, which is now presently in the Indian Ocean region, is under our total surveillance. We know everything. And that is why we are very sure that all these white shipping people who are, conducting trade, who are using our sea lanes of communication, and if they are coming in that part of the area of North Arabian Sea, they should move out. And that is why time is being given to them. Coming to this question, whether comparisons, first of all, we do not believe in bean counting, Gaurav. We have a bigger adversary and we have adequate assets to address any kind of threat. All the inventory of Indian Army, Navy, Air Forces today, based on the threat assessment for today, tomorrow, and 10 years down the line. So if we have, I'll come down to the naval aviation first. If you see what are the accretions in the last 10, 12 years, last 15 years, we started with the P-8I, then we moved towards the P-8I is a long-range maritime reconnaissance, maritime reconnaissance, anti-submarine warfare aircraft, which means very long range. It can address anti-shipping, it can take on anti-submarine warfare, and it has been also very, very helpful to the establishment when we had this 2019 Galwan thing happening. So everybody is aware of it. Then next is the MH-60 Romeos, which are the anti-submarine warfare helicopters, or we now call them multi-role helicopters. They can also be used for anti-shipping, anti-submarine, and the works. Then you come to the Sea Guardians, which are on the wet lease right now. So they are the first line of defense, massive capacity and flying endurance to keep the battlefield awareness, to give it to the commanders. The total awareness, the maritime domain awareness the plot is developed from there. Then comes the two aircraft carriers with the 40 plus MiG-29Ks all ready. Then, as you have already brought out, 13 destroyers, followed by Shivalik class submarines.
Let me take this one by one. And since you talk about air assets, Air Marshal Kapoor, you're an aviator. When we talk about air power and naval power in the Arabian Sea and air power over Arabian Sea, in your appreciation, do we have total sea control? And do we see this as a single service operation or exercise, or do we see, not just multi-domain operations, but we also see the Navy and the Air Force coming together? They've been carrying out a lot of exercises, I believe, together, even not just over land, but over sea.
See, Gaurav, there are a few dedicated squadrons with Indian Air Force which specializes in maritime operations. And these squadrons regularly interact and participate with Navy on routine basis. So we have our Jaguars, we have our Su-30s, we have some other platforms, we have our air-to-air refuelers, which in synchronization with the naval exercises, that is the surface navy along with the submarines and strike aircraft, regularly participate for these kind of contingencies which you are just mentioning. So the training goes on unabated, and we have specialized kind of weapons which are used for these kind of operations, and also the qualification of air crew is done in the manner some because sea flying overnight is one of the most tricky things, because on a dark night flying over sea there is no horizon. So typically a pilot which flies in the aeroplane during the daytime is used to certain features, and on land you have various lights and other features, contours. But over sea in dark night, the flying is absolutely tricky. And as they say, the toughest landing is on a deck by a pilot in dark nights. So that is the most difficult thing which an air crew goes through, and these are regularly practiced.
Amazing, because the ship is moving, the aircraft is moving, the ship is sea is choppy at times, so the pitch and the roll really makes it extremely difficult for the aircraft pilot to land. But Captain Sharma, if we were to talk about the current, the clear and present danger that our country faces from that radical Islamist terror sponsor country, Pakistan believes in sea denial, and apparently they have potent sea denial capabilities, the use of their submarines against our gigantic aircraft carrier battle groups and larger warships. Does that take India's advantage away, or does that check India's sea control capabilities?
No, not at all, not at all, Gaurav. The aircraft carrier today will be moving around with a carrier battle group. So there will be adequate assets which are equipped with sonars, with the towed array sonars. Then I have told you already that PATIs will be there. They will be putting the fields of sonar buoys, and they will make sure that the area of operations where the carrier is going to operate. You see, the carrier doesn't have to go up to the last mile. We have the
MiG-29Ks.
MiG-29Ks on top, which will address the threat. Otherwise, it is we will pick and choose. The target is to be picked by us. So whether it will be taken off by the destroyers, or will it be addressed by the PATIs, or once if the threat emanates from the northern side, if they venture out to sea, then we have enough and adequate assets which will take on them. Rest be assured, but wait for the action whenever it happens. I'll not speculate what will happen, but it is going to be a much synchronized, very, very potent and debilitating. Let me tell you that, whenever it happens.
Well, 1971 certainly was debilitating. Karachi was burning for 11 nights and days. Marshal Kapoor, if we were to use either the Navy or the Naval Air Arm or the Air Force together, what do you hit in Pakistan? How do you inflict pain on General Asim Munir's military jihad complex, either through sea or land through the sea route, sir?
See, I just was watching the promos and the other activities before the program began, and you only mentioned, your channel mentioned that Hafiz Saeed is locked up in some area in a city.
House. Yes,
safe house.
in Lahore.
And if you are following the Russian-Ukraine war and Israel-Hamas war, a new feature that has emerged now in the warfare is urban warfare. Now, it is becoming increasingly difficult to go into cities and to take out the targets. And the Indian and the responsible countries always make sure that there is least collateral damage and there are no civilians killed. So this kind of, it is for the masses of that country and place who should realize that these targets are being hidden in populated and congested areas, wherein when any action is being taken, there is likelihood of any damage, with which they will go to international media and say that so many children or civilians were killed, wherein the first hand. And if you see the tactics in Hamas and other things, they've kept their ammunition dumps, their headquarters below hospitals, schools, others. So similar kind of tactics now from earlier the targets which are in open, which we could pick it up from miles, have now shifted into urban this thing. And the good part is that with correct intelligence, we have precision weapons, both from all vectors. Can be fired from a ship, it can be fired from an aeroplane, and it can exactly take out the target, the coordinates. Now, it is how and when and what kind of decision is taken. It could be like Captain said, it could be in synchronous with the other two services. It could be in isolated. Any of the services could take the lead. And it has to be factored in for the escalating. I was covering with your program the other day. The beginning would be small, but catering for the escalatory ladder. Now, it is like a game of chess. You have made a move. You now factor in that what would be the move from the other side. And if they move this, so that is.
And that is where India's defense preparedness, perhaps, you see the scale, you see the size, and you see the scope, how well India intends to inflict pain on that state sponsor of radical Islamist terror. Air Marshal Kapoor and Captain Sharma for joining me here on the first part of this India First special broadcast. Many thanks.